Donkey Kong Bonanza is utterly fantastic. Its controls are ungodly amazing. I love smashing through every piece of terrain possible. It's made me appreciate a character and franchise I already liked enough, a ton more. The endgame goes nuttier than it has any right to. It's one of the best games I have ever played. If it wasn't for it releasing the same year as Hollow Knight Silk Song, one of the most anticipated games in the history of ever, it would have been the easiest personal game of the year pick of my life. Truly, this is the game to get a Switch 2 for, and I couldn't be more satisfied with the final product. Although, with that said, I had one small thing tugging at me during my initial playthrough. One thought that permeated throughout the entire time, that just kept popping up at every single corner. As much fun as I was having with the base game, I kept thinking to myself, man, I just cannot wait to beat the game so I can start collecting each and every one of the bananas. Bonanza's primary collectible are Banandium gems, sparkly bundles of potassium adorned with a diamond at the top of the stem. At first glance, they're an effective main reward, but there is stuff to warrant a whole video on them, you bet your ass. In actuality, I think they're one of Bonanza's biggest defining traits that helps make it as amazing as it is, and that feels a bit crazy to say about a mere collectible. Take Mario Odyssey's Moons for an example, an easy comparison to make since it was the last major release the team responsible for Bonanza worked on. I like gathering them, and it's been long enough since I first got them all for me to do it again if I was so convinced, but those are much more of an end goal, a reward for your efforts. Banandium gems feel less like that. They're a part of the underground world, something that can show up in an important location, after a challenge, hidden in terrain you need to smash open, and overall, they're just really well designed in so many aspects. To start off, Banandium gems fit really well with the game since it's Donkey Kong, for one, but them being minerals really works with the subterranean setting. Not only that, but instead of grabbing it by touching it and moving on like you've likely been accustomed to in this world, you gotta hit that thing 1, 2, 3 times before it bursts open. And that's just the perfect thing to play every single time you find a new one. I never found it to be repetitive, and it gives the game a good amount of its personality. So not only are they appealing design-wise, but each time I reach one, I get a quick jump of serotonin that works in Bonanza's favor. And none of that would matter if bananas weren't fun to go for on their own. I talked about this briefly just a bit ago, but the ways you go about collecting bananas feel really organic in a way, or are just fun to try and collect. Taking a look at how the game's challenge rooms are structured is a good way of summing it up. Each room has 3 bananas in it. One will be at the end, as expected for any sort of challenge in any sort of game like this. Most of the time though, you'll also get one midway through. You'll encounter a good amount of bananas just on your way from one place to another. There's nothing wrong about that, not every banana needs to be challenging to collect. Plus, it works a lot with the underground world. Banandium gems are important to people and get used for various resources like energy or food, for example. Plus, they're minerals. It would make sense to find them in completely random spots, and if they're tied to an NPC or something of the sorts, again, these things are important to the people down here. They realistically would hold on to some for safekeeping. Then there's the third banana. Usually, you have to go out of your way to find a hidden path or uncover a secret area. In other words, you need to explore. Bananas outside the rooms will also encourage you to venture across the much larger sublayers the challenge rooms only play small parts in. Any possible area you're visiting for the first time may be home to another one of these tasty yellow gems in a spot you'd never even render if you were playing the game in a linear fashion. Collecting these things is just a lot of fun to do with how they're handled, and really, this is just an oversimplification of the game. Where a banana is hidden and how you collect it can vary drastically from one point to the next, and that is the mark of a good collectible. And there's an extrinsic reward in store for you for eating this many too. Skill points! This is one of the biggest aspects that sets Banandium gems apart from any other collectible I've seen in any of the 3D Marios. You're given something to do with your bananas after you've grabbed them, giving them a lot more importance. Your reward for collecting bananas are new tools added to your arsenal to help with getting even more bananas. You also get to choose what upgrade you want. You could spec right into punch power or save up your skill points to gain the ability to turf surf on water. It helps ensure that repeat playthroughs feel different, as you'll level up different skills at different points of the game. If you want to grow more powerful, just find more bananas. Whereas if you want to push yourself and make the game more difficult, don't collect any at all. The magic of tying your main collectible to unlocking skills is that now, they're not needed to progress through the game. It doesn't matter how many you collect, all that does is that you're satisfied with what you have. One of the earliest challenge runs for Bonanza I saw mentioned online was a no banana run, considering most people were able to connect 2 and 2 together and see how that could make your experience harder. And yeah, I did one, and I found it to be such. I can recommend it if you're interested, but I was looking for something different. Once I got to the post-game on my first playthrough and started collecting each and every one of the Banandium gems, first of all, I loved it, but an idea started to formulate in my head. A challenge run of my own. One that would let me play the game in the way I wanted to from the very start. So, I set out. I completed a no banana run, and after that, I was left with a save file with every major roadblock taken care of, but 0 bananas collected. Minus the tutorial ones, but that's because I didn't really want to replay it beat for beat just for 3 bananas, but I had pretty much created my own New Game Plus. What I've concocted here, I like to call the Banana Encore. In each layer, with every story block cleared and every Bonanza transformation unlocked, you collect as many bananas as you can. Simply scour these open zones and collect to your heart's content. If you're struggling to locate a single one, no problem. You can just move past it if you please. Or if you want the satisfaction of fully completing a layer, go ahead with that also. The magic of a self-imposed run is that you can bend it to your will. And I can tell you for sure, that itch I had during my initial playthrough was finally scratched. With nothing to get in my way, collecting as many bananas as possible led to such a fun time and an interesting way to approach the game. It made me see each layer in a different light and gain a new appreciation for most. My opinion on the forest layer especially drastically improved after I went through it on my Banana Encore run. I really liked jumping from treetop to treetop, spotting more than one Banandium gem sitting somewhere as I was high above it all. Even the music too, like I used a song from this layer as background noise while riding because it was just so calm and jazzy, and it's definitely in this video somewhere. I don't know if it's playing right now, but editor me will say where it's playing. But yeah, the forest layer just has a lot going for it, and it was a highlight of my run. Another standout was the hilltop layer. I've destroyed this layer in full 6 or 7 times, so this one felt a lot simpler to clear, and it was one of the few I actually did end up collecting every banana, but even then there were some hitches, like this shifty smash under Peel Peak that I only found by using the map. I'll tell you one layer that sucked though, the Tempest layer was ass. Minus the lightning, I like this one in a normal playthrough, but it is clearly more linear than most other layers, so in a run where I need to explore, it becomes a lot more tedious. There's also this one sinkhole that's kinda in between sub-layers, so to get back up you have to go even deeper first to reach this barrel cannon, and when you're searching for goodies and accidentally fall in, it can be a pain. Another one I was a bit iffy on was the landfill layer. It's definitely built for exploration more than the Tempest layer, but searching through piles and piles of dirt I can't see through isn't the most engaging thing there is. Most bananas I felt like I just stumbled upon. It's a lot of digging down and occasionally forward to see if you can spot anything. Of course, there's more to the layer, with multiple rest points that are better designed and have simpler to reach bananas in my opinion. Here are some other layers of note. I found the Lagoon layer's 2 sub-layers to be jam-packed with things to do. The Freezer layer felt kinda cramped and the Chocolate Lava was not fun to deal with, but overall good time. The Feast layer's top sub-layer is incredibly spacious, so that was obviously a blast. The layers tend to skew towards really fun, which came as no surprise to me. The collectible itself is really well designed. And while the Banana Encore was fun and all, it still came with the problems of self-imposed challenges, and it wasn't what I wanted from a New Game Plus. Just what I could realistically achieve. For one, I kinda wish I could have started out with all the skills unlocked instead of being super limited within the first few layers, or would have them unlocked faster. Also, I would have liked to refight the bosses, that too. I also didn't really have a set end goal either. The journey was a ton more valuable than the destination in this case, since there wasn't really a destination in the first place. It was just about collecting for the sake of collecting, and it was fun, I believe I've gotten that point across, but it does make finishing the run a little anticlimactic. Man, if only there was an official way to play something like this. Or at least something similar. A mode where the main objective is to keep on collecting until you can't. A mode where everything turns green for some reason because I like the color green. Man, if only there was a downloadable content package for the Donkey Kong Bonanza game on the Nintendo Switch 2 system that was just like that. Emerald Rush is almost everything I wanted and then some. It's a roguelite mode where you simply have to collect as much emerald as possible. Emerald being reskinned gold. The thing that makes it is progressively reclaiming your skills and gathering up various kinds of perks to rack up multipliers. Simply put, I love this mode. Honestly, if I wasn't making this video, I'd play it a ton more. Like, I get the urge to, and then I think, ooh, you should probably record it for this video. And then I go, nah, I'm not in the mood to record right now, so like, I want to play it more. It lets me mess around with the phenomenal controls and physics without having to replay it or dealing with the lack of a goal. Seeing number go up progressively more and more is simply so engaging. I could talk about why I like it more in depth, but this video is all about the stupid ass bananas, so I'm sticking with how those function. If you want to see more, I have a short with my first impressions, so go check that out if you have the time to. The Banandium gem's role in Emerald Rush is to grant skills back to you, as well as giving you the option between 3 perks the same way finding a fossil or clearing a goal does. They can hold almost any one of your lost skills, from basic things like increasing health, to the Zebra Bonanza's spin shot ability that I totally didn't forget about. It's up to you which ones you collect. Some bananas might be on the path towards one of Void Kong's many goals, so it'd be smart to collect them regardless if you'll actually make use of the ability or not. Some, however, if you desire the skill they're attached to, serve as a little detour. Going out of your way for one skill can be risky, but also rewarding if you play your cards right. Not all bananas are treated equally, as I discussed earlier. You'll need to go the extra mile for some. Bananas tied to a clear condition like Shifty Smashes or Secretone missions require you to complete them first on every Emerald Rush run. You are not only tasked with proving your dedication to a single banana, but this is pretty much what I wanted. A way to collect the bananas with little to no restrictions that furthers a goal. This doesn't apply to all bananas. Ones tied to challenge rooms will just be placed adjacent to them, and any banana collected by talking to an NPC either replaces the spot of that NPC or is straight up cut. Side note, shoutouts to making high-fiving Cranky Kong one of Void's goals to compensate for that set at least. I had this run in the freezer layer where I got it, promptly said, oh shit, and frantically scoured the map for any place I vaguely thought Cranky might be. It's not the end of the world though, there are still plenty more at your disposal, enough to where not every banana will have a skill. Most will be absent of that glow, conforming to the color of every other emerald substance around. Now don't get it twisted, these things aren't inherently useless, far from it actually. In exchange for no skill, they'll now drop chips, in addition to the emerald ore that was already a part of the banana's with skills. Chips are used in this mode to unlock skills on your own volition, instead of seeking out a hard to reach banana you don't really want to put in the effort for, or to get a skill that's straight up unavailable at the moment. It's a good source of these, but it's not your only one, and it might be better to wait until banana skills get reshuffled before you crack one open. That, and there's also the perk Banana Slamma, which increases the amount of emerald gained from breaking a banana, so it might be more optimal to build that up beforehand. Either way, that is not the main appeal of bananas in this mode in my eyes. What I believe to be their most important role, one of the parts that makes Emerald Rush as fun as it is much more than that. You see, skills aren't the only thing a banana can contain. They can also grant you access to Bonanza transformation. On difficulty 3 and above, you start out with all of them stripped from you, with them only being re-obtainable by the bananas the game just so happens to select. Bonanza transformations are absolutely crucial to your runs. They'll help with defeating enemies, traversal, and they even have perks catered specifically to them, like a higher chance of finding something while foraging, a multiplier for defeating an enemy, and even certain ones to make them even more powerful, like increasing the speed of the zebra's charge dashes or the ostrich's gliding, or making the snake's glare slow down the in-game timer. All of that potential stored in a little banana-shaped gemstone. Not every single Bonanza transformation will be available in every single run. My go-tos are the Kong and Elephant Bonanzas, but sometimes I'll have access to neither. Sometimes I'm forced to improvise with Bonanzas I was less keen on using and watch them instead perform massive feats with a correct string of perks. I had this one time where I got a bunch of Ostrich Bonanza perks early on and was able to get the Bonanza itself pretty easily, so it just dominated the whole run. Making your Bonanzas something you have to earn is one of Emerald Rush's greatest decisions, and it's made me appreciate each Bonanza even more. And I mean that. In my initial run, I definitely wasn't using them the way I do now, where I activate it pretty often, swapping to the most optimal transformation on the fly, and stringing together movements to complete whatever task I'm doing as efficiently as possible. Of course, base DK is still super fun, and it can be even more fun to tackle obstacles that would be a cakewalk with a certain Bonanza without it, since it often requires a more creative solution. But still, each transformation is fun in its own right, and they're a big reason why Emerald Rush is a really good mode in my opinion. It kinda sucks that most of the discussion around this mode is the $20 price tag because, as it's always been, it's a subjective critique depending on your financial situations, but mostly because it overshadowed how addictive and fun of a game mode it is. I'd like to keep my Silksong comparison directed towards how phenomenal both games are, thank you very much. Anywho, Bonanza transformations are good in Emerald Rush, which by proxy means that the bananas are also good. Yippee. So I believe I've made my point pretty clear. In all facets of Donkey Kong Bonanza, Banandium gems are near perfect. Their appearance and functionality fit the game super well, and they aided the overall game design, whether you decide to even interact with them or not. And depending on how you approach them, they can completely redefine your experience. All that from just a collectible. I could not talk this much about cat shines. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed what you saw, leave a like, and if you're interested in what else I have to offer, consider subscribing. If you feel so generous and want more people to see this video, leave a comment. It really helps push videos like these through the algorithm. Talk about a banana that stood out to you, or what your favorite layer is to do an emerald rush in. You could also hype it if you have the option to. With all that said, I hope to see you in the near future, and goodbye.